All right, I wanted to make a quick follow-up video to my simple channel programming for the TRI PRC 152. I'm a member of the Facebook group for these radios and similar ones to it, and there's a lot of confusion, and I actually talked a little bit about my own confusion with this. For example, this is a repeater channel, and you won't see on the display here where it's showing the plus or the minus on the display. I'm sorry that the backlight keeps turning off. That was confusing some people, where they were like, hey, I programmed this channel and my settings are going away. But if I key out, I'm hitting the repeater. This is what's weird about the way that this radio programs, and they don't tell you at all about this, but it's what I've come to realize. And this is why I said this real explicitly in the programming video. Make sure you have every single setting exactly how you want it, and then save the channel. Because once you save the channel, those settings are saved when you are in channel mode. And I am in channel mode right now. That's why it's displaying the channel name here, okay? So when you hit enter in 1, now I'm in VFO mode, where you manually just really quickly put in a frequency, okay? The settings, for the most part, there are a couple that do change. That it's showing right here, all these different settings, some of them like the plus minus, that's gonna show what's in the menu on VFO mode. Now if I go into the menu and I start changing the offset, and then for example, I switch to channel mode here by doing this twice, and then go back up to the line up here to this FRS channel, it's still going to show, for example, say a plus or a minus sign, or some other setting that I may have changed on VFO mode. And until I go change it, and it will actually show that setting in the menu. The menu settings, even when you're in channel mode, for the most part, with exception of power transmission and stuff, does not override what your settings are for the channel. The part that makes this super confusing is for the most part. Because for example now, you can see how that little setting for the indication of the T, which I'm really sorry, I should have remembered. I don't remember what that T means. That setting changes, but it doesn't show the plus or minus, showing that there's an offset for this being a repeater. That, I want to say, is like the worst thing with this radio, and it's a firmware issue. It's this, they did not do a good job in the firmware. When you move it over to channel mode, in my opinion, what it should do is that when you switch to channel mode, and if you are on this FRS channel, when you go into the menu, it should display the options for that channel. And then it should also display all the options up here for all the little symbols and stuff that they have that display settings. It should show that. Then if you switch to VFO mode, it should go to whatever the settings you had in VFO mode. The other thing that gets confusing in this too, that I learned early on, quick settings that you have, like there's one for the backlight, and it keeps the backlight on, that overrides everything, including the menu setting. Some of the quick settings even override completely wiping and resetting the radio. When I first got this radio, I had an issue where I hit enter in 2, and I didn't think it did anything because it doesn't tell you. You just watched me do it, and now my backlight is stuck on. I wiped the radio and reset it, and the backlight wouldn't shut off. Now I hit enter in 2, and it shut off. Even after resetting the radio back to factory settings, that setting did not go away until I hit enter in 2. These are just firmware glitches that they should not be on a radio that costs this much money. And I wish they would get fixed, but once you kind of get them, you'll learn to tolerate it. I wish they weren't there. The last thing to think about if you're having an issue with programming, and I'm probably going to point this out in almost every video, I have fallen victim to this twice. It is real easy to hit this and move from, I'm going to call it plain text to load in ciphertext, because on the real radios, that's what they are. But the 3 different settings up here, this moves really easy. I'm going to find a solution to this to make it so this can't be changed as easy down the road and make a video about it. But be aware, like if you got all your settings right and someone can't hear you, check this. Because if you got it on this, which is like the encryption or the scrambler that they call it, that just could be what it is. So if you're talking to someone with the Baofeng, they don't have the scrambler, and you're gonna come through as like a really ugly sound or something. So check those things. I already ran my mouth here a little bit too long. Hopefully this is helpful and clarifies some things, because in the Facebook group I've typed this out to a few people, and I hope it clarified it to them. But maybe seeing it and looking at the radio while I explain it will help a little bit.